Good morning, class. Dave here. What follows is a presentation I recorded for use in a graduate level seminar style course on the American Civil War. This presentation would be assigned during the course's first module and includes a short, what I would call, motivational introduction to the course subject, along with some ideas concerning critical thinking that will be built upon in later presentations throughout the course. So here's my presentation, course introduction. I'm looking forward to your comments.
Good day, and welcome to HIUS 5XX, American Civil War. I am Dave Kelly, and I look forward to working with you over the next 8 weeks as we explore the American Civil War. For this first presentation, I thought I would spend a few moments to discuss with you why I and many others find this period of American history fascinating, what I hope we'll accomplish in the class, and some things to keep in the back of your mind as we go forward. So first, why the Civil War? Yale history professor and Pulitzer Prize winner David Blight has given 4 reasons. 1, there is a human passion for epics. 2, people have a fascination with loss and lost causes. 3, a general interest in military history, especially since 9/11. And 4, people are interested in searching for the origins of the modern United States. Knowing where we came from helps us understand our present and assists us in plotting the course ahead. Here are some thoughts that I have. The Civil War was everywhere. You can't go on any highway almost in Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, without seeing historical markers, nearly all having to do with the American Civil War. Battles took place in Arizona to Vermont. Large battles such as Antietam, which saw thousands of casualties, to small skirmishes in Arkansas. Moreover, many key sites such as Fort Sumter, the Union headquarters at Gettysburg, the house where Lee surrendered to Grant, all but ending the war, Lee's pre-war home, and the famous Mason-Dixon line still exist and can be visited. There's a strong personal connection. Look at the soldiers who fought in it. They look like us, our family members, our friends, our neighbors. Look at that flag on the left-hand picture and imagine the fire those soldiers were under to cause such damage. The enormity. Some estimates place Civil War deaths as high as 850,000. compared to approximately 400,000 in World War II. There's drama. After the Battle of Wilderness, these were the only able-bodied men out of an 86-man company that entered the battle. Here's a photograph of the ground over which 12,000 Confederate soldiers attacked the Union line at Gettysburg during Pickett's charge, all the while under constant artillery fire. But while major events took place over 150 years ago, many reverberations from that war continue today. Over the past several years, anyone who's kept up with the news, even if just a little, has heard of the many Civil War-related controversies, some having to do with the display of the Confederate flag, some having to do with the display of monuments, others having to do with the naming of major U.S. Army bases after Confederate generals. Some thoughts to think about. Given all of the arguments about naming the U.S. military bases after Confederate generals, how many of those taking part in the arguments even know anything about these individuals? Generals Polk, Bragg, and Hood. Ignoring which side they fought on for a moment, did any of the three have military accomplishments worthy to have major bases named after them? Or, as a Civil War historian and professor once told me, only a little facetiously, was the naming of the bases one of the earliest acts of political correctness by the federal government? Or were they named after 3 generals who did more than many Union generals did in contributing to the eventual Confederate defeat? As we go further into this course, keep track of these 3 gentlemen. You may be surprised. While there is continuing debate concerning various aspects of slavery, was slavery economically efficient? Was slavery destined to fade away as the United States became more industrialized? More and more research is being conducted concerning these and other aspects of slavery. One aspect that is definite, though, slavery was a major cause of the Civil War and was a vital component of the Confederate government and the so-called Confederate States of America. It was not the only cause of the Civil War, but it was the major cause. If you look over the course syllabus, you'll see that I've assigned several of the various declarations of secession by those states that separated themselves from the United States after the election of Abraham Lincoln in 1860, the inaugural address of Jefferson Davis, the elected president of the Confederate Provisional Government, and a speech by Alexander Stephens, the Confederate vice president. These primary source documents, drafted or spoken by various Confederate leaders at the time of secession and the formation of the Confederate States, make clear the role of slavery. In its Declaration of Secession, for example, Mississippi clearly stated that anti-slavery sentiment in the country, quote, has grown until it denies the right of property in slaves in the territories and refuses admission of new slave states into the Union, close quote. Mississippi also claimed that the federal government, or at least the incoming government of Abraham Lincoln, quote, advocates Negro equality socially and politically, close quote. In going through the various declarations of secession, you will find of all the reasons given, the strongest and most frequent have to do with slavery. Also, unlike the United States Constitution, the Confederate Declarations of Secession and the Confederate Constitution call slavery what it is, slavery, not hiding behind a euphemism. Alexander Stephens, in a speech made in his home state of Georgia in March 1861, stated that the United States Constitution rested upon the, quote, assumption of the equality of races. This was an error, close quote, and that, quote, the great truth is that the Negro is not equal to the white man, and thus the new government, the Confederacy, is the first in the history of the world based upon this great physical, philosophical, and moral truth, close quote. Stephens further goes along and says that because the Confederacy is based on this racial idea, it was in total harmony with, quote, the laws of nature, close quote. Now, in saying that slavery was an important part of the Confederate government and was a cause of the war, that does not necessarily mean that the United States went to war against the Confederacy to free the slaves. It also does not mean that individual people in the North and the South went to war because of the slavery issue. There's thousands of reasons why. And one of the books, the required text in this class, James McPherson, Why They Fought, describes some of these things. But truth be told, the Confederacy was based on slavery. And that's something that's not controverted. The last thing I would like to do in this presentation is to share with you some thoughts on gathering and evaluating information. This is something we'll continue doing throughout the course. Yes, we're here to learn about the Civil War, but I also hope that we will exercise our ability to read and think critically. While many of these tidbits may seem simple and obvious, I don't present them to be condescending by any means. We've all become somewhat immune to these, so it becomes more important that we think about them, keep them at the back of our minds, and make them part of our standard procedure when dealing with the reading, analyzing, and disseminating of information. The first of these I would like to discuss is quotes. We've all seen countless memes on social media, in emails, on a friend's phone, or something similar. Some are quite easy to identify as not accurate, but others not so much. We should, as historians, check these out as a matter of course. But what of accurate quotes used inaccurately? For example, Thomas Jefferson is often quoted by those arguing for a small government. Here are two quotes that are examples of this. People have used these to show that Jefferson was against what some call the nanny state, or that he felt government should not borrow money. However, when during the Jefferson administration, the United States took part in what has now become known as the Louisiana Purchase, the government paid the $15 million purchase price by using $3 million in gold and borrowing $12 million through bonds. How did Jefferson rationalize this? Does this go counter to his position outlined above? Does this make Jefferson a liar? An evil person? No, this is just an example that we need to be careful with quotes. People do change their opinions as their perspectives change. We need to understand also the reason behind any particular quote. Here are two from the Civil War. The first, attributed to Abraham Lincoln, concerning the death sentence given to a deserter. The other, by a general, complaining of incompetent leadership supported and appointed by Lincoln. Are these inconsistent with each other? Facially, yes, they are. Or perhaps once we learn about Lincoln and his ability to, in writing, accomplish what he felt he needed to get done, does this show how he worked to get political backing of his government in their war effort? Final thought for this time, be aware of those spreading misinformation either unintentionally through ignorance or intentionally for various reasons, both innocent and nefarious. While always a problem, it has grown immensely with the internet. When conducting research, ask yourself, 1, when was the work produced? 2, who is the author? 3, does the author have skin in the game or a vested interest? 4, what do trusted reviewers think of the work? And 5, do I need to undertake my own research to determine veracity? All this is food for thought. Keep these in mind and we'll explore them and others in the weeks ahead. Thank you.